All right, welcome to another episode of Future Proofed. I am here with Kyle Coleman. Kyle, how are you?
Living the dream, as always, my friend. Got my obligatory cup of coffee. It's the early afternoon, and, we're doing what we can to survive.
All jacked up on that Halloween candy from taking it from your new son. That's fun.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't have teeth yet, so I get all of his candy.
The Papa tax is very rich in your household. I love it. So today we are actually going to talk about something near and dear to your heart. A lot of people, if they don't know you or haven't followed you in the past, they see that you're a CMO, but you actually got started in sales as an SDR. And today that's what we're going to talk about, and especially sales development leaders who are supporting their team and implementing a GTM AI strategy coming into 2025. So I want to just start with, before we jump into the sales stuff, can you just define for me what we mean when we say a GTM AI strategy?
Yeah, for sure. Before I do, though, as I want to do, Nathan, I'm going to answer whatever the hell question I want to. If I can claim expertise in anything, I can certainly claim experience, but if I can claim expertise in anything, I would say it's SDR. It's how I kind of cut my chops in tech and SaaS sales. As you mentioned, I was the first and only SDR at a company. I was a sixth employee. We grew from 0 to 110 million in revenue in 6 years, and I ended up growing and leading an SDR team that was about 65 people globally. And then I've trained thousands of SDRs. I don't even know how many speaking things. This has been a passion project of mine for a dozen years, and so I'm excited now to talk about what is the right way to think about sales development in light of the coming wave of artificial intelligence. And that segues into the actual question that you asked me, which is what is a go-to-market strategy? What is a go-to-market AI strategy? The first part of that question, what is a go-to-market strategy, has been somewhat watered down over the years. Especially we in tech, have gotten so obsessed with bringing on specialized people or bringing on specialized tools for different components of the go-to-market process that we sort of lost sight of the bigger picture. We lost sight of the system. And so a lot of people will think about, we have a sales development strategy, or we have an account-based marketing strategy, or we have a deal management strategy, or something like that. And they lose sight of the fact that all three of those things and plenty more can and should be interwoven as part of a broader GTM strategy. So that's what we're trying to talk about. That's the reorientation that we're hoping for our audience to make. And now the follow-on question there is, what is AI's role? And the role of, or the way that you can think about a full go-to-market AI strategy is, how can you infuse AI across all of the plays and processes and best practices that make up that go-to-market strategy that you have? And spoiler alert, you can do a ton with AI today. So we're going to be focusing, I think, on some more sales development type use cases and hopefully plant some seeds for SDR leaders and how they can think about things. But a large part of what we're going to talk about is how to rise up a bit and think, yes, about the tactical channels and plays that you need to optimize from an SDR standpoint, but rise up a bit and think about how can we optimize the entire go-to-market system. That's what good looks like in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, and again, you are being quite humble, especially the CMO role. You are the only quota-carrying CMO I've ever met. It's almost unheard of, and I think your role in sales and your expertise in that has made you more lethal across the whole go-to-market function. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Lethal is an interesting word choice. But yeah, I think that's fair to say. And the reason that I decided to start carrying a quota inside of Copy.ai is for the exact reason that we're talking about. The use cases that we are selling, the problems that we are solving, the stakeholders that we're solving them for. It's me. It's the use cases that I've lived and breathed for a dozen years. So I wanted to be on the front lines and learn how to message, how to position, how to do all these things to hopefully make our entire go-to-market strategy better as a result of what I learned with boots on the ground.
And I want to talk about just this word AI, because that's almost become a term that's become vague in itself.
Yeah.
As we talk about it, we've seen a lot of SDR teams that they turn to two different AI solutions. We're actually going to pitch a third, but I want to get clear on the two that we've seen them turn to, which are the AI copilots on the one hand, which are helping with tasks, or the fully automated AI SDRs that are hitting the market. I would just love your take as someone with your experience in that SDR role and now in a leadership and exec role. What are the problems with those, and why? What are they causing in the market as they are just flooding everything?
Yeah, they're causing a lot of confusion, and they're causing a lot of heartbreak. And we'll start with the AI SDR. And I imagine anybody listening to this, you probably have managed an SDR team before, or at least you've been very close to one. Maybe you've been part of one. You know that the promise of the AI SDR is total BS. And the reason that you know this is because you understand how complex it is, how nuanced it is, how bespoke it needs to be, not just at your company, but for different segments in your company or different verticals at your company or different personas that are members of your buying group. And when you start to consider all of these different factors, you have this like multi-dimensional chessboard that you have to play. The people who don't understand this are the product people that are designing quote unquote AI SDRs, who think that the AI SDR or the role of the SDR, put AI aside, they're designing products that basically just send emails and book meetings. And you're like, well, that's not even close to what an SDR does. I'm like, okay, well, we can also do some research. It's like, okay, but there's still a lot that an SDR does that is just not able to be captured with this fully autonomous agent. So it's no surprise that the receipts are starting to come in for these AI SDR companies, and they are bad. They're bad because what happens is you bring on these AI SDRs and the CRO is super excited, like, oh, we're never gonna have to spend a dime on a human again. And what the AI SDR does is it goes through your CRM. It maybe finds, good accounts and it maybe finds some good people and it just blasts them with shitty emails. Forgive my language. And that leads to a little bit of a bump in pipeline generated. And then it falls off a cliff because it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. It's only one channel that's being quote unquote optimized. And I say optimized very loosely. It's one channel that's being used, and that's email. And it's ignoring all of the other things that an SDR either does or an SDR coordinates in order to be successful. So that is why I just firmly do not believe in the AI SDR. I don't think that an SDR will be replaced by any means by a fully autonomous agent. Now, elements of what an SDR does can and should be augmented or replaced or streamlined, and we'll get to that in a moment. But that's why I'm very skeptical of the fully autonomous AI SDR.
Okay, and the other solution that we've seen are people turning to copilots like ChatGPT, and they say, okay, I can make this, I can do this a bit faster. What are the downfalls of that? Because I could see as a sales leader that actually seems like a better solution, obviously, than AI SDRs. The human's still in the loop, and they're able to move a bit more efficiently. But
Yeah.
what have we seen the problem of that?
The problem with copilots is they're actually just going to add to the go-to-market bloat that you already have. They're going to add to the app sprawl, to the tech sprawl that you already have. It's another system that people have to use. So like do the app switching, switch into, log into, and use ChatGPT as an example of a copilot. But they also have to learn how to do it. Like prompting an LLM is hard. It is not something that is just super intuitive. And so there's a lot of change management. There's a lot of app switching. And as anybody knows who's managing a team of SDRs, the more tooling you give them does not necessarily mean the better results that you get. You're adding a web of complexity and expecting them to bounce around between a million different things. And it's just probably not going to work quite that smoothly, quite that seamlessly. And so you're starting to see this with some of these other more legacy type solutions for SDR tech and tooling are coming out with their own versions of copilots. And I'll use one example. And I love the people at ZoomInfo. They're great people. I've used the product for a long time. They recently rolled out their ZoomInfo copilot. And for all intents and purposes, is a great idea. Like you log into ZoomInfo, you can go to the account record and you can ask questions and you can parse through ZoomInfo data really easily. The problem is you're expecting people to do that. You're expecting them to actually log in to ZoomInfo. And then, Nathan, you're expecting them to know what questions to ask. And that's not always the easiest thing, especially for SDRs who are more often than not early in career. Maybe this is their first role. Knowing what questions to ask is hard. And I say this having spent 6 years selling business and like broader based business intelligence solutions. And one of the main problems with BI, business intelligence, is people don't know what question to ask. So you need to surface it to them in a dashboard. You need to give them an easier launch pad to start their analysis. And it's the same sort of thing here with a Copilot experience. If people don't know how to use the tooling, it's never going to work. If people don't know what questions to ask, it's never going to work. And that's why the Copilots are very limited in the actual transformational value or any value that teams have been seeing from them so far.
Okay, and so now we are transitioning to a world where, and this was new to me until I was at Copy.ai, where there are accessible AI workflows as the third option that will automate, like you said, the elements of the SDR role that can be automated, but still keep the human in the loop for that strategy so that they can come up with those questions and understand accounts more deeply and connect with humans. There'd be nobody better to ask than you. How does that play out throughout the whole go-to-market function?
Yeah. So the way that we think about this, as you just said, is like we talked about the fully autonomous AI SDR and how we're just oversimplifying the jobs to be done by the SDR team. Then on the other side of that spectrum, this kind of like automation spectrum, we talked about the AI copilots, which are requiring too much know-how for people to get any value out of. We believe that workflows are somewhere like at the midpoint of that spectrum where a single person, a best practice stakeholder, let's just say Sally is the best person at your company at researching accounts and brainstorming the right sales angles for how to penetrate that account. Sally has a process for how to do that, step-by-step process for how to do that. Now, what a workflow allows you to do is it allows you to define and codify that process one time in like completion to be as customized, as flexible as we need to be to capture Sally's bespoke, nuanced process that's right for your business. Then, once we have that workflow codified, so research what that company is hiring for and look for relevant company news and look at industry trends and look at their 10K and their recent earnings call for public companies, research their fiscal year, look at like whatever you're trying to find out about this company, we can codify all of that in a step-by-step workflow. We say, Sally, take a look at this, look at the output. Does this represent the way that you build account plans? Yes, okay, great. Now let's go integrate that with our CRM and let's run this workflow against every single named account that our SDRs are working right now. And now every single SDR across your business has the Sally version of what a great account plan looks like automatically delivered to them in the flow of their work. They don't need to log into a new tool. They don't need to learn a new system. They don't need to be prompting experts. They still need to read the book. We're going to deliver a book to them inside the CRM. Here's the account plan. Here's some sales strategies. They need to read the book and then they can go execute. And that is the right instantiation of AI. That is the right way to find the balance between your best practices and the right things to automate with AI. And that's one example. There are many more examples, but that's the right way of thinking about the power of AI for your SDR team.
And I was always shocked when we'd been chatting earlier in the quarter about how little sales rep at any role, but I imagine the SDR as well, how little time they had to actually sell or to actually connect with people. What was the statistic? It was the time that they had was.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've seen some sources that are like 9% of the sales team's time is spent selling. I've seen others that are like 30%. It's somewhere in there. It's less than half. It's less than half. Less than half of your time is spent actually selling your solution on calls with prospects, crafting personalized emails, doing discovery. Like you don't find time for that because you're mired in all the manual, repetitive, time consuming stuff.
All right. And I want to talk very quickly about folks who are responsible for an SDR team or a sales team, and they have to hit quotas in 2025. They have these concrete numbers that they have to reach. And I imagine that they're terrified because this is kind of the Wild West in terms of what solutions they should be putting into place. As a sales development leader, would this mean like, I'm just going to cut my SDRs in half and I'm just going to use these workflows and now get more with less?
Yeah.
Does it mean I'm just going to teach my people how to do what's better? What should be their priorities as they're switching into implementing a GTM AI strategy specifically for their SDR team?
Yeah, it's a great question. Okay, so you've identified now as the SDR leader, you should be, and certainly when I was leading SDR teams, scaling processes was a huge part of what I thought my value was to the team. Knowing what good looks like, training people on how to do it, scaling these processes. As I mentioned, I went from just myself to a team of 65 globally, and you can't do that without like scaling best practices, scaling processes. So that's your role. Now you're the SDR leader. You've done that. You've identified all these different avenues for that kind of scale with AI. We can do our account plans. We can find contacts. We can enrich and research contacts. We can draft our sequences. We can do close loss re-engagement campaigns. We can find former champions that have moved companies, like on and on and on. We've codified all of these plays. Okay, great. Now what you need to do is you need to make sure that the work that you have done is actually going to be interoperable with other things that are happening across your go-to-market engine. And so again, when we talk about go-to-market AI strategy, we are talking not just about the strategy that's going to help power the SDR engine. We're talking about how those things are going to be interwoven with what is driving the rest of your go-to-market engine. So how can those account plans that you've built power account-based marketing? How can those emails that you're sending change after a first call with the sales team where you learn some insight about the account, and now you're multi-threading and the messaging is going to change based on the opportunity insights that you get from a deal transcript. Like these are the types of things that when you start to see what's possible for AI to do the dot connection and weave everything together, that's the responsibility that you have as an SDR leader. And the reason that I'm specifically bullish for SDR leaders is because you're sitting right between sales and marketing. You see what's going on in marketing, you see what's going on in sales. You have a duty to connect the two departments. Whether you like it or not, you have a duty to do that. You're sitting right between them. And so you have the power to have a lot of leverage on what that go-to-market AI strategy is that finds and codifies the right workflows across the whole engine, working cross-functionally with the leaders in marketing and sales and operations and CS and wherever else in order to make the strategy a reality.
And how can someone in that unique position, because there are varied feelings about AI across departments, how can they position go-to-market AI as a strategy or solution to the other leaders, the other execs, their board, in a way that shows these are the benefits that we will receive from this? Like, what does it matter that the dots get connected so well?
That is a great question, Nathan. The way I think about this is it's not going to be like super earth shattering or groundbreaking, but if I were making the case internally, going back to my days as an SDR leader, what I would do is I would go to all the cross functional folks that we talked about and just ask them, like, what is the most effective way? Like, put aside the fact that we need to generate $200 million of pipeline this year. Put that aside for the time being. Let's go down to the atomic level. What is the most effective way for us to penetrate ServiceNow? They're a marquee account of ours. We have to get it. Like, we would love to get a meeting with them, and we need to do it earlier in the year so that it will turn into revenue sometime this year. Like, go down to that atomic level and ask these people, what is the most effective way to do this? How would we do it? And I guarantee you, they're not going to say, oh, just send some general emails and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Of course not. They're going to say, well, on the marketing team is going to say, we need to have custom landing pages and maybe we could do a custom event and we can create custom content and let's serve custom ads to all the members of the buying group. And then the sales team will say, when I'm presenting them, I need to have a really rich point of view on the strategic initiatives at the company. And man, I'd love to have this supporting content to inform my sales decks and my follow-ups and all the rest. And so you're going to start to see people will say, we should be account based. And like I said, not earth shattering, not groundbreaking, but now you've got an answer to your question here. Our go to market strategy should be account based. How can a go to market AI strategy help us actually do that? And the answer is like what we just talked about. Let's codify as many of these account based processes in workflows, and then let's run those workflows against all the accounts that we care about. And now we can start executing a high touch, white glove approach that we know is the right way to do things. Let's run this for every one of the accounts that we care about. And let's see what kind of results we get. So you can be the person that leads that charge. You can be the change agent that helps everybody understand that, of course, this is the right way to do things. We shouldn't just send a billion emails. We shouldn't just spend $1 billion on Google search. Like, let's have a more coordinated, unified, AI powered way of having an account based go to market strategy. And I promise we're going to get better results.
And we just came from a really fun all hands meeting where we talked about the growth we're experiencing internally. It's safe to say, at least for me, from the marketing side, I've never been part of an organization where everything was so in sync, where the sales team, the conversations they're having informs the content that I need to make, which then informs the sales pitch decks that they have to share. Gotten to be on sales calls. Everything feels really, really highly aligned. You've talked about this in the flywheel effect, but it really is true, right? Can you just speak really quick to that flywheel and how it almost makes a momentum that you can't stop?
That it's a great way of framing it, Nathan. And the example that you gave is wonderful. Like, you are super interwoven. You, the head of content strategy at this company, are completely interwoven with the sales team. You understand all of the account plans that have been created with the AI workflows. You understand the common strategic initiatives that have been identified across those account plans, how the sales reps are selling against those initiatives. You create the content that drives more demand. We learn more about accounts. We adjust the content mix, and the flywheel keeps spinning. And it's things that are as simple. I know I shouldn't say simple, but they sound simple. They're hard to execute. But using AI, like, and we'll just keep using you as an example here, Nathan. I know we're getting a little further afield from like the topic of SDR, but because you have codified what good looks like for all these different content outputs, SEO content, use case content, customer stories, newsletters, email marketing, social posts, like you have codified all of these workflows. Now you just snap your fingers whenever you need to create that type of content, given whatever inputs, whatever research, whatever context you want, and that creates awesome content that can be used by sales and marketing for whatever we're doing. And so that's how things start to compound. Those are the flywheels that start to spin. And you're right, like once the flywheel starts picking up, it's hard to slow down.
Well, it's really exciting to see if there's anyone who is in a sales leadership position They're getting terrified as they're planning out the next quarter, 2025. Where can they reach you? Where can they follow you to learn more?
So this is a key point, and we probably should have started here, and it's my fault for missing this note. But what a lot of people are thinking about right now is what is their 2025 plan? And a lot of people are feeling the pressure to quote unquote have an AI strategy, but no one really knows what that means. So hopefully we're starting to shine a little bit more light on that and helping go-to-market leaders understand what it means to have a true, comprehensive, systematic go-to-market AI strategy for 2025 and beyond. And you as an SDR leader listening to this, you can make an enormous difference inside of your company. You can create a lot of leverage for yourself, your team, for your department, for your company by leading the charge of implementing this strategy. So whether you do this with Copy AI or you do it with whatever, we just want you to use AI because we know if you don't in 2025, you are going to be left behind in a major way. So hopefully this helps you think about the right way to do that. If you want or need any more information on this, feel free to just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm just Kyle Coleman on LinkedIn. So check it out. We'll talk to you soon.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Nathan.